Hi everyone, for this week's discussion I chose to do prompt 2, which discusses the relationship between consumerism in America and citizenship behaviors. And to start off, I'm going to be focusing mostly on economic contribution to society as a part of citizenship, and what it entails. But I think you could look at it in many different ways. And so for my background information, after World War II, consumerist ideas began to flourish because the government started to realize that in order for mass production to be sustainable and to keep going, there had to be a constant buyer. In the first article that I read, which is the MIT Press one, it talks about how propaganda was used to make the typical citizen engage in consumption. And I have a quote for that. So it says, "The products have been luxuries of the upper classes. The game is to make them the necessities of all classes. This is done by dangling the products before non-upper class people as status symbols of a higher class. By striving to buy the product, the consumer is made to feel he is upgrading himself socially." And I do want to say I feel like we can all kind of agree to that. So for example, like high-end brands or luxury bags, luxury items, we all see these, and I think that they're kind of seen as a status of being more important than those who aren't, because it's like you're contributing to society, you have the money to spend, and it kind of gives you a higher rank in a way. That's what I think personally, but I have two examples. One is broad and the other one's more like specific. But for the first example, I just said the belief that being a good citizen relates to being a good consumer. So in order for the economy to flourish, like I said, you need buyers and sellers, and society can support American businesses and brands by consuming the goods or services. So it kind of again reflects the idea that if you're contributing and if you're buying and you're doing everything as the consumer, you're being a good citizen because you're helping the economies and the businesses in American society. And then my second example is much more, like I said, specific, and it's kind of to just give you a little background. So I am an immigrant from Mexico. I'm a Mexican citizen and I have a visa here, but I'm not an American citizen. So I do understand what this is, and it does apply to my life. So I just think it's a very specific, but it's a very interesting thing that I feel like a lot of people don't really know. And then I got this from the Common Good Collective article, but it is like a part of a bigger book, so I am gonna cite both of them, but I want to focus on this one specific part, and I will read it to you, which says, "Many who have the full legal rights assigned by their country continue to wait for others to provide them with satisfaction and contribute little to democracy or the well-being of their community. At the same time, there are major contributors to community and democracy who do not enjoy the legal status of citizenship." And so I just thought this was really, really interesting because once again, it just kind of makes you think, what do you define being a good citizen or being a citizen in general as? If it's someone's legal status or if it's what they contribute to society and the economy. And I'm going to be focusing specifically on banks and banking items such as credit cards, just a bank account in general, or loans. So in order for you to have all of these, you need to have a social security number, and if you don't have the legal or the right papers or anything, you cannot have access to this. So if someone does have access to a bank account or credit cards, they're more likely to buy things that they can't afford, and that drives up the consumption in the United States. And it kind of shows how it relates to citizenship because, for example, if you have a credit card and you have a, I don't know, $800 spending limit a month, you're more likely to spend those $800 than someone who doesn't have a credit card and just kind of relies on their actual money that they have, not just lended money. And I think it's also like another thing that I wrote, it just says it keeps the economy active even if we drive ourselves into debt. And so it's just kind of like a give and take thing. You know, like what you're willing to do if you want to keep society going and if you want to keep the economy going, or if you want to focus more on yourself. So yeah, sorry this video is a minute longer, but I've recorded it like 10 times and I cannot get it any shorter than this. So thank you for listening.